Well, hello, everybody. And my name is Joe Drennen, and I'm the admissions advisor for our 100% online masters in psychology. And tonight, we're honored to have a very special guest, one of our Masters of Science in Psychology graduates, Father Stephen Schultz. And Father Stephen is the chaplain at St. Paul VI High School in Loudoun County, Virginia, and a priest in the Catholic Diocese of Arlington, Virginia. He just returned from Rome with 20 high school students. And Father Schultz is co-hosting the webinar tonight to help you answer questions from a student graduate perspective. And here's a couple of fun facts you'd like to hear. Father Stephen is a twin, and his twin brother John went on to marry and is the choir director at St. Mark's Parish in Vienna, Virginia. And a few years ago, Father Stephen created an amazing fundraiser to take his students to a World Youth Day in Madrid. And we'll let him share with you his unique fundraising events. And perhaps like many of you, he had a winding journey in the career world, and he will share it, and why it's probably one of your biggest questions that you have is why he chose Divine Mercy University before we got started. And as a reminder, please use your chat feature during the webinar so we can answer your questions as we go. And Father Schultz is a photographer of people. A look at thousands of photos posted on his Flickr site shows very few pictures of just objects. The pictures reflect a person passionate about his family, brothers, seminarians, and people in general, and his faith. They are the testament of a man perfectly suited for the priesthood. So, Father Schultz, go on.
Thank you, Joe. Okay. Thank you, Joe. There was a lot there, a lot of things that I didn't think were going to come up at the beginning of this webinar there. But thank you, everybody, for joining us. I really appreciate you being here and taking the time. I'm glad to share with you these things. That unique fundraiser was based on the scripture of John the Baptist saying, "I must decrease and he must increase." And I had people in the parish pledge by the pound that I lost over a 5-month period, and raised something like $35,000 for our group that was going to World Youth Day in Madrid in 2011. So the parents of those kids were very happy. It knocked about $1,000 off of the cost of the trip for each one of those students. And as Joe said, I'm the chaplain at St. Paul VI High School. I love being a chaplain. I've been here for 6 years, and I started the MSP program just a year after I became the chaplain here. It was challenging because being a chaplain, a high school chaplain, is more than a full-time job. But I was very determined to be the best priest that I could be for our students here, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't use something that I learned in the MSP program, some way to help a student, to listen to a student, to help them know who they are in the light of God's love, to help them with their perspective about themselves and their life and how God is working in their life. It all been so very helpful to me, and I graduated 2 years ago. And I've also used the degree to help out in some other areas of work as a priest. I'm a chaplain for Encourage, the apostolate that assists parents of those who experience same-sex attraction or their children experience gender dysphoria, or they report gender dysphoria, or they've taken on a trans identity. And so I am the chaplain for that, and we have 3 separate chapter meetings and a special chapter, in fact, just for the parents of younger children who are experiencing gender dysphoria. And I'm helped in that chapter by a clinical psychologist who works for the diocese, but the MSP has really helped me in that regard to help me to help those parents, help those families in that in the difficulty that they see with a child that has kind of lost himself or herself. So altogether, I have no regrets about doing the MSP. I wish that I had been able to take some time off in order to do it, but I managed to complete it working full time, and a lot of the other people in my cohort were also working full time as well. So any questions that you may have, I'm glad to answer them as best as I can.
So anyway, if you have a question, you can do the raised hand, and we'll see if we can, or the chat. I'm going to start going through. It's a little slide presentation about the Master's of Science in Psychology, 100% online, no GRE required, which is your graduate record exam. That some programs require that. And to give you an idea, what we're going to cover is I'll tell you a little bit more about Divine Mercy, the program, the Master's in Psychology, our faculty, acceptance requirements, next steps, and then scholarships. And anyway, Divine Mercy is a Catholic graduate university, and it was originally the Institute for Psychological Science and the School of Counseling, founded in 1999. So we're really a very young university, but progressive. And in 2015, we changed our name to Divine Mercy University, and we are accredited by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools to award master's and doctorate degrees. And regional accreditation, there are 5 regional accreditation bodies in the U.S. You have your Western states, your North Central, then over to Middle states and Eastern states, and we're Southern states. So we're Virginia on down to Florida and over into Texas. And we're also formed and chartered and established by the Commonwealth of Virginia. And one question asked, what makes us different? How do we differ? Well, we use distributed learning, which is asynchronous delivery, and which means that you don't have to be online at any certain time. You do this on your own time. However, you still have to put the time in, which is if you're taking 1 class per term, it's usually about 15 hours a week. If you're taking 2 classes per term, it'll get into the 20 plus hours depending upon you. And our professors are experienced. They're all PhDs, and they understand what you need to learn. And usually in a typical class, and our next class starts the 24th of May, we have a good combination of teachers, law enforcement folks, some attorneys and their social workers, some students from the other side of the world that are doing this online. And anyway, our instructors try to tailor make it to you and what you need to learn. And we are informed by Divine Mercy's Catholic Christian meta model of the human person. And what we do is we focus on the whole person: mind, spirit, body, heart. And then, but in simple terms, is we do philosophy, psychology, and theology. And we don't have any classes in theology, but we infuse it. It's to change your heart and your mind. And but these are some of the benefits of a program. Master's of Psychology, I just call it analyzing, synthesizing, appraising, and evaluating. And these are things that's like, someone, a psychology major will have to do out in the real world. Now let's look at those. And one thing about, the bottom one, evaluate critically one's own biases. So to do this, you'll find out a lot about yourself. And when you find a lot out about yourself, you'll be able to better help other people because, everyone has certain biases in that. But, and then here's some other benefits, diversity principles in leadership, evaluate the attitude skill sets, understand the effects of crises and disasters, and develop care and education plans. And and when Father Schultz went through the program, we just had one blanket program, and now we have 5 different concentrations on this. So, and then now there are certain advanced skills, the ability to recognize and respond to mental health challenges. And how many times have you just looking at a question here, and notice a person that they have mental challenges, and and the big thing is to recognize that through questioning, observation, and then evaluate the attitude and skill sets of strategies for becoming a transformational leader in a service delivery setting, and understand cause and effects of disasters, and developing care plans. And someone had a chat. I made a question, and I'm just going to say that. And the question was, how does being a Catholic Christian school make this program different from other programs in terms of the approach to psychology? And simply, we focus on the whole person. Just not, you're a person, whatever, full person. And answer that question. I don't know who it's from. It's anonymous, but that's a great question. And then managing a budget. Okay. Now, in the Masters in Psychology, we have 5 different concentrations, and marriage and family, human services leadership, pre-PhD, self-design. And to reiterate, the Masters is 100% online. The only time you would have to come to campus is for graduation. And then this is not a licensure track degree for aspiring mental health clinicians. MSP focuses on educating working professionals from all backgrounds and giving you solid tools needed in psychology. And in the curriculum, everybody takes the same 8 core courses, helping people flourish. We use the word flourish a lot in the program. And, I usually ask students to your definition of flourishing, and they say, well, it's to help people grow and become better in that. And they're right. Flourishing is kind of related to growing things, but when people flourish, they feel better about themselves. And then the human growth and development across the lifespan, and it's understanding what stage people you're trying to help are in life. It could be a 12-year-old to an 82-year-old. You got to tailor make those suggestions to them. And then the developmental psychology of risk and resilience, cognition, the Christian vision, the flourishing again, and vocations, which are occupations and virtues. And we don't have math, but we do have some statistical analysis, because you have to be able to measure things, measure someone's progress and measure your progress too on how you're doing with them. And then the social psychology groups, and then research, methodology, and design. And what this one does is everyone, in order to graduate, you have to do a capstone paper. And a capstone is similar to a thesis, but you don't have to defend it orally. A thesis, you have to write it and defend it orally. And we have our students have various different capstones on what their topic is. And at graduation, we put the title of their capstone in the graduation. And I'm not going to say any names, but some of the capstones for this person was human formation through an introduction to positive psychology and the virtues, a retreat for those in a religious life. I'll give you another one. A military service members and family workshop on, PSD to an open communication and encourage help-seeking behavior. And then, now let's give you one more. I'll just say Catholic Gay and Straight Alliance, a model of implementation for Alberta Catholic schools. And Alberta is in Canada. Again, we have students from all around the world. So, well, now here is a great question. Someone asked, good evening, what does it mean that it doesn't lead to a licensure? It does not lead to a license. And we do have called Masters in Counseling, but that's a 3-year program, twice as much. They go through 2-year practicum, usually unpaid, and then another year apprenticeship, usually unpaid, and then they're ready to be licensed by whatever state. But we are not, at this point, not licensed in every state, but I'd love to, to talk with you about that. So I hope that answers your question. And, but it doesn't prepare you for state licensing. It gives you, general tools to help. And anytime you have a master's degree in psychology on your resume, it opens up many doors. But yeah, we do have licensing, but again, not in every state. And we've had quite a few students who started in counseling and they say, hey, this is, it was too much for them. And they came back to this program. And then, but other, that's the marriage and family concentration. And these are their electives that they take: marriage and family, flourishing, human sexuality. And then those in human services, there are relationships and intervention skills, personality, individual differences in intelligence, and group counseling work. And we get a lot of business professionals that, instead of going for their MBA, they do a concentration in leadership. And like everyone else, they take the same 8 core courses: transformational leadership, leading people to programs and organizations, and applied leadership skills. And that real quick. And someone asked, so only way to licensing and helping patients is through the counseling. But typically a counselor, you work in an office, you work Monday through Friday. Your appointments range from 8 in the morning to 8 at night, 25, 30 a week. So, okay. I hope that answered your question. And okay, answered that one. Doesn't lead to licensing, and because this is a 33 credit hour course, and for licensing in most states and even in other countries, it takes about 65, 70 credit hours. So, and it's tough. You have to have a higher grade point average, and you have to, in our program, travel to Sterling, Virginia at your expense 3 times from a Wednesday through Sunday. Okay. But, a lot of folks want counseling, but this is, these are skills that can help you in anything. So, and then, pre-PhD, same 8 core courses, but right now they're doing 6 1-hour credit courses on thesis writing, how to research it, how to write it. And of course, we use the APA format, which is the American Psychological Association, which is more scientific writing. And then we have self-design, where they do the core courses. Then they pick one of the 3 of these, between family, leadership, and human services. And that way they can make it, customize their curriculum. And we did not have this when Father Schultz was there. So we revised it, and it's good. And these are some of the, the career opportunities, and these are positions that our graduates have gone into. And some of them may have been employed in the field and they moved to these positions. Some of them may have been doing something else and they moved into them. But, through the, social, mental health, industrial, government, ministry, and education with a master's in psychology, that is a primary qualification to teach at a community college. You have to have at least a master's to teach at a community college. And then healthcare and behavioral mental health services. Those are some of the positions our graduates have gone into. And then in business, human resource. But, a lot of good human resource folks, they, a human resource person is a person who, well, they keep their company out of trouble. And psychology, this is such a great tool. And anywhere from employee trainers to sales rep, parishes and dioceses, community colleges, even in high school to be an instructor. Now, you may have to do state requirements, which include, student teaching licensing, but, the primary thing they're looking for is a master's degree. And family services, nonprofit agencies, and then state and local government, which, I think it would be easier if you live in the capital for the state, but, every city has, and county has their own different positions. So, and I always say it's just, Google where you're at, opportunities for master's in psychology degrees, and you'll be surprised what comes up. So, yeah, I don't know how many folks have had online schooling before, but, when COVID came about, a couple years ago, it, at least around here in Cincinnati, you couldn't attend a class in a classroom for about a year. So for students to continue, they had to go online. And if the professors wanted to teach, they had to learn really quick how to go online. Now, we've been teaching online for 14 years. So I think we have it down, but same atmosphere of full student participation and teachers. They're there. You're just not side by side. Fast turnaround with your professors and peers. And usually if you email at least a professor, they're going to be back with you in 24 hours or sooner. And we go with your 5 learning points, videos, books, classroom tutorials, and audiobooks. These are all things to help you learn. Easy to use online platform called Canvas, and 24/7 open access. You can study anytime, anywhere. You have to have an internet connection, but it's a given in today's world. Some of our instructors, Dr. Julie Costley, she is the program chair or director, and they're all PhDs, and she probably specializes most in family and human services. Kathleen Dudemain, well, she doesn't teach that much anymore, but she was a big part in developing curriculum. Chris Ewan, retired Air Force officer who does a lot of the leaderships at time to time. Robin Tepto, again, another good family and service person. Anna Pecoraro, she is a licensed mental health clinician practicing in 3 states, and she is a wonderful teacher. And Christopher Gross, he is the big research guy. He has 7 children, and we have 2 tracks. We have the 16-month track, 26-month track to get your master's in psychology degree, and the difference between the 2 is that in 26 months, you take 1 class per term. And in the 16-month, you take 2 classes per term in most every term. But, we have a lot of breaks in between to where you're going to get, 12, 14 days off in between semesters. And, everybody has to have downtime or vacation time. And, I know for myself, in going to, in an online degree, it's it seemed easy at first, okay, but then it was work, and you always have to give up something. I gave up vacations, and I gave up my nightlife, and but we'd still do what I call family vacations, where we go see brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws, but in doing that, I would still get my studies done. I would just lock myself in the bedroom, get online, and do my work. And it was pretty good. And then our acceptance requirements are: you must have a baccalaureate degree from an accredited institution. That's a given. You must have at least a 2.5 grade point average overall. To be competitive, students should have at least 2.5. So really, I mean, if someone is 2.5, at first they may want to do the start out in the 26 months. And if they feel they can handle more, great. We have students that start in the 16-month where they are doing 2 classes, and some of them say, hey, this is too much, it's not working. They can drop down to 1 class. But anyway, you can switch tracks 1 time. And then 2 letters of recommendation, a resume including employment history, and your written statement of intent indicating how your goals will align with the goals of the program. And this is very simply, it's where you were, okay, and where you want to go, and how the master's degree will help you get there. 300 to 500 words. And for those who English is not their first language, they may have to take a TOEFL test, TOEFL, which means to others, English is a foreign language. Okay. And then we do have our federal financial aid of loans. Student loans, subsidized and unsubsidized. Some students get tuition reimbursement, and for master's degree program, you don't get Pell Grants. Okay, but some veterans get money, and then we have a whole lot of scholarships you can apply for, and a lot of these are you have to write essays and tell why you should get it. But those, they're really on a first come, first served basis. And right now we have what's called the Early Application Scholarship. It's $2,000 just for applying early. So that's good. Now, some folks, I don't want to take on student debt, or they may not qualify for aid because they're not a citizen. But we set up reasonable cash plans that they can pay. And then our tuition is this: without any type of aid or scholarships, $8.26 per credit hour for 33 credit hours, $27,258. Then a technology fee of $50 per class, $550. You take 11 classes, $27,808. That's without any financial aid, and that's for the whole program. Not 1 year, the whole program. So you can divide it by 2 or 1.5. And then we do have $55 application fee, which we can waive it if someone is really serious about starting school. But anyway, let me answer a few questions here on the chat. Okay. Right. Some say, yeah, we do offer counseling, but not in every state. We're just not licensed in every state. So, and then other ones, can you do more than 3 electives? Absolutely. You can do more than 3, but sometimes the self-design is better on that because you can pick your 3, but yeah, you can do that. And actually, we do have, if someone goes through the master's program, I believe there's about 6 classes if they decide to do counseling later that would transfer. Someone says they have BA in English, they want to pursue a PhD. And for any PhD program, you have to have a master's, bachelor's, master's, and then doctorate degree. But for doctorates in psychology, you have to have a master's in psychology. That is the bare bones requirement. And but these are what I call crucial questions. And I was a bad boy. I mean, I started looking at master's programs at age 25. I didn't start one until age 41. And I had boxes of information. But then no one had a webinar with me or spent a one-on-one time. And finally, I walked into a school one day and said, I'm interested in school. And then next thing I knew, I was signed up, ready to go, started that next Monday. And I don't regret that one bit. Some folks say, well, you were rushed. Well, how can you be rushed? And my biggest regret was I didn't do it when I was 25. But then if I'd have did that, I probably wouldn't be here now. So but anyway, will the completion of the program help you obtain your goals? You have to have goals for a program. I mean, because you're spending time and money in something. I mean, you have to have something in the end other than I just want to learn. I want to do it for my children. Yeah, you should always do it for your children, but the main person is you do it for yourself. And will scheduling requirements for successful completion workable in your schedule? We have some students that they don't work, they stay at home. We have some students that travel all the time that to do that. But if you take one class or the 26-month track, you're looking at least 15 hours a week. And if you do the 16-month, which is very short, where you're taking 2 classes, you're looking at about 20 plus, and that depends on you and how well you study and that. And, when I went through school, Monday through Thursday, I'd get online. I worked full time. I'd get online from about 9 to about midnight, took off Friday. And somewhere between Saturday and Sunday, I would do another 6 hours. Sometimes, it's Saturday, I'll just do it tomorrow. So most of the time it was Sunday, I was doing another 6 hours. And do financial aid options along with support of financial aid, make it affordable. Well, but student loans, they are a good thing. They help you get it. A big crisis today, the student loan debt and this and that. Well, a lot of folks who have student loan debt didn't finish college. They got 1 or 2 years in, they quit, and therefore they have debt. And can you commit to the successful completion of the program? That's something you want to do it. You got to commit to finishing. And I know I put my goal up in a little poster. It said Joe Drennen, MED. And that is, I wanted the title, but I also wanted how it's going to help me. So, okay, so another question here. Let me see if I can answer this. And nope, doesn't prepare you for state licensing. Just answered it. Thank you. And we do have a licensing program. Pretty hard though. It's hard, difficult, and it's going to take 5 years before you get licensed. So, but anyway, that's me. And again, the skills you learned in the Master of Silence, listening empathetically. And a lot of people say, oh, I'm a good listener, but then are they listening or are they just thinking to say what next? And listening to and assisting struggling people, not as a counseling or psychotherapist. And a non-licensed helper must refer if the person shows any sign of being in danger of self and others, facilitate psychoeducational programs, and then working alongside mental health clinicians, lifeless well coaching. And we will always refer to a licensed person who knows these person in their area. And, a lot of folks say, oh, unless I can get a license, I don't want to do it. Well, I commend you, but it's like I said, it's twice as long because they have to have at least 60 credit hours. It's twice as much, really the same credit hour. It's twice as much, the 3 trips on your own expense to Washington, D.C., 2 years practicum, than another year internship. You're willing to do that. certainly refer you to the right people. And it'll help you build trust. Trust is a big thing today. And I mean, I won't deal with anybody who unless I trust. But I tend to trust people who listen to me as opposed to just tell me stuff. I mean, I know I'm just telling you things now, but I hope we're building trust and gather data and history and what's going on for the person, and seek input, be more effective in lay ministries, deepen understanding of interrelatedness of the body, mind, and spirit, increased opportunity for job promotion. And there's a lot of jobs, especially teachers. I know in a lot of states, you get your master's degree in anything, and you go up a grade in pay, which will certainly pay off in the long run. So, but anyway, remember the concentrations: marriage and family, human services, leadership, pre-PhD, and self-design. So, for more information, that's me, and we can waive that $50 application fee, and we have that $2,000 early interest. Does anybody have any questions for Father Schultz?
Joe, I can answer, or at least answer in part, to the last question that came up on the Q&A.
Sure.
About the content of the courses relating to some of these contemporary errors in moral errors, looking at the way we look at the human person and marriage and things like that. So the question was, we're facing a time when where family values are being ridiculed, governments wanting to normalize abortion, same-sex marriage, pornography watching, and in general, an anthropological way of understanding morals and ethics. So I'd like to hear more about the contents of the classes and the approach towards these very sensitive topics. So in general, what's been developed at Divine Mercy University now over the course of a couple of decades, and it was just published in 2019, is the foundational textbook of their approach to understanding the human person and approach to mental health counseling and the helping professionals. And it's called the Catholic Christian Meta Model of the Person. Joe mentioned it at the beginning, and it's a brilliant synthesis of philosophy, theology, and psychology that says this is how we understand the human person, how this human person grows, how the human person flourishes, the essential relationships and qualities and aptitudes of a human being. And as Joe mentioned, it is looking at the whole person. So that's foundational to the program. And you get more and more of that meta model of the human person as you go forth through it. I think it's the most important contribution to Christian anthropology since John Paul II's Theology of the Body. I think it's going to be transformative in the world of psychology and the helping professionals as well. And we are teaching it to our students here at my school, and I know others in my cohort who, upon graduation, began to really apply it in their own fields. One of them is an executive and was applying it as in a matter of leadership and developing his people. And another was working as a physical therapist and found a lot of success in using this approach with people to help the whole person, to treat the whole person. So as regards the content of the programs or the content of the classes, where to begin? The courses do touch on the problem of pornography and how to identify an addiction and what the qualities of an addiction are. But a mental health counselor will tell you generally someone might need a specialist to deal with certain addictions. However, as a priest, I don't have to have a license in order to be a spiritual counselor. And so I found that a lot of the things that I learned in the program would help me help me to help others to address those self-destructive behaviors in their life and find their way out of it, by growing in virtue. And so that's another key aspect to the meta model of the human person. We flourish in these invitations to relationships. I refer to them, I teach them as gifts and callings. And in the first form, that's love of God and love of neighbor. We're all called to goodness and holiness. The second form is our committed or avowed vocation in life, being single, married, a religious vocation, a consecrated vocation. The last form is meaningful work, service, and leisure. And all of those involve relationships and responding to those relationships, living those relationships with virtues, helped by the gifts of the Holy Spirit. And those is what makes for a flourishing person, which is someone who is growing in virtue, someone who is living living their calling to the full. So that does speak to some of these other areas. I guess what more than anything, the meta model of the human person, it doesn't just give one an understanding of the person, the whole person, but it really awakens, especially in people who haven't had theological training, it awakens the Catholic imagination and a Catholic worldview to understand our purpose, understand the gift that we have in being human and belonging to God. So all of these other things, though, they apply they apply for those who are not Christian either. So it's not that in learning these tools one has to be working with Christians only. It just gives a vision of the whole person with which to understand the person and receive the person, accept that person as a gift, and to help them to grow.
Very good. Thank you, Father Schultz. Appreciate that. And but anyway, how much time? I was thinking about 45 minutes. It's just really hard, to answer all your questions. And but if someone doesn't want to apply, you do have to go through at least 30 minutes with me in a Zoom meeting that's similar to this, other than you have a lot of information that really probably causes a lot of questions. But in a Zoom meeting, it's answering those questions, give you a little bit more information. And the hardest thing that I did was, it was about almost a 20-year gap in between my bachelor's degree and master's degree. And when I started school, I cried every night. It's like, this hurts my brain, because I was used to reading, magazines, newspapers, books for fun. But that dissipated pretty quickly once I got into my routine. Everything was good. I really look forward to getting online, doing my reading, writing, and research. And it doesn't last forever. Either 16 months or 26 months. And then I'm not saying that once you're finished with the program that you quit learning. You're always learning, and which is a good thing. It'll keep you going. So anyway, I know we had some really great questions, and I really want to thank Father Schultz for being on here. I mean, I learned something, and I love talking with our students and graduates. So anyway, if I'll reach out to everyone, and if you want to set an appointment, do so. And I enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed it too. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you again, Father Schultz. Thank you.